Kia ora. I'm here today to talk to Grant Henderson, who is a principal of one of the schools that is an RTLB I'm working in. I'm doing my micro-credential as a Better Start Literacy facilitator, and I'm working in Grant's school. So I'm interested to know what Grant feels about the RTLB service, and whether he sees us as agents of change, and what his thoughts and views on that are. So Grant, as RTLBs, we're moving away really now from diagnosis and cure, more to a collaborative model where everybody is included. We try and talk to the teacher, get the teacher included, of course, and the whānau, so that we can all, and even the student at times, as much as possible, so that we can all work together to get the best outcomes for that student. So in your experience, when you've had RTLB working in your school, have you felt that they've worked in a collaborative way?
I think for those RTLB that have come into the school in the last 2.5 years, there's been a real progression around working with our teachers. The hardest thing is getting your classroom teacher to understand that change will take time, and sometimes a situation means that you need actually a number of people working together to collaboratively manipulate the situation and the systems for the best outcome for the child. So I suppose it has been a shift of focus for us, because a lot of the teachers initially thought, yes, I have a problem, I'll refer it to the RTLB, they will wave their magic wand and the child will be cured. And I suppose as the COVID situation has also supported and helped, it's made teachers become more collaborative and more engaged with the community of experts that are out there to support.
So what is the expectation on RTLB? Do you expect them to come in and facilitate, or do you expect them to have, you want them to have ideas of ways forward? Otherwise we don't just want to sit there and let everybody else do the work. So how do you feel that our role
evolves?
I
suppose the key bit there is most RTLBs are fairly experienced teachers and have come into this role because of an expertise that they've built up over a number of years using the New Zealand curriculum o Te Marautanga o Aotearoa. So whilst they have done that work in their own little school, one of the great things about the RTLB service is that it allows them then to share those ideas across schools where they may have never taught before. So I think that's one of the first steps forward. The second thing is that a very wise man once said to me that actually the answers lie within the people who are already there. A great facilitator just is able to listen, hear, and maybe point out where a potential solution lies. And so that facilitation role is quite crucial, because an RTLB is an independent teaching professional who may then just suddenly hear something within that collaborative workspace and say, hey, look, actually this is probably going to work far more efficiently and effectively for the child, and will help to grow their confidence. And I think that's the third aspect of our experience so far of having RTLB involved in the school, is that there's been a real different shift towards examining our systems and allowing, through a collaborative approach, us to incorporate things like Better Start Literacy and the positive behaviour for learning, incredible years training for teachers, and of course structured literacy, which we've been doing with our older readers now for the last 6 to 7 months. So it has been by far a more collaborative
and this is more at a systems level, isn't it? At a tier 3 rather than looking at a tier 1, rather than looking at individuals being referred to RTLB. You're more looking now at a sort of larger groups or
Yeah.
whole classes, or helps with systems work, which
The advantage we have being a decile too is that the board has already invested in with significant funding, or significant use of our own funding really for teacher aid supports within the room, and we're really lucky our staffing allows us to employ a specialist literacy teacher as well for point 2, who helps develop our target programs for children. So once you incorporate that, and really what we're looking to do is develop our systems, and of course with the new educational learning priorities, the barrier-free access for children, which has replaced the old NEGs and the NAGs, that's where RTLB are helping our school to evolve its strategic planning and its strategic thought into that space, which is important.
Can I just ask about parents being involved, because part of that, that's very important. The parent knows the child best. Of course, children are different when they're in an educational setting and when they're at home. And I remember when I was in the classroom, sometimes I'd say, how well the child was doing and how lovely they were, and the parent would say to me, oh, well, they're not like that at home. So, but how do you feel RTLB sort of interact with the whānau? Do you think that's a successful partnership there, or do you think we could be more work done there?
I think it's quite tricky, because in a school like ours, where you need to take time to build the relationship, the nature of the current model under the EC 2000 policy does sort of create a bit of a barrier for RTLB, because there is a timeline of intervention, whether it's with a whole group or whether it's with a class or whether it's even with an individual. Now, parents who are now IT savvy can look all that up and they realise, well, look, we may not have time to build a relationship with an RTLB before that transition and closure point arrives. So I do think that's quite a tricky barrier. However, I suppose the other part of it is, and I think it's about schools evolving, is understanding that the most critical relationship parents have is with the child's classroom teacher.
Absolutely.
And so therefore, I would always be concerned if a parent said to me, look, I have a better relationship with the RTLB than my child's teacher, because what that says to me is, actually, what is the RTLB doing far superior to what my classroom teacher is doing? There is an opportunity to share their expertise with parents, and I think there's about schools utilising the skills and experience of the RTLBs to be able to do that. But I also think the critical element moving forward is ensuring that part of it is reminding our teachers, and that may be something the RTLBs do collaboratively, that the relationship class teachers have with their parents enables them to access that expertise